All right. Thank you again. Thank you very much, Representative Horsford, for joining us today. The first question I wanted to ask is certainly the big news that's coming out of the Capitol, or rather the House right now, is the impeachment proceedings, introducing the articles. Talk a little bit about what kind of message you're looking to send as you do support impeaching the president.
Well, first, let me say that I take our oath very seriously. I joined with my colleagues this morning to file an article of impeachment against Donald Trump for his incitement of insurrection against the federal government, our federal government, preventing us or attempting to prevent us from doing our duty to properly report out the electoral college certification and votes from the 2020 presidential election, which he lost by more than 8 million votes. But prior to this impeachment, we also moved this morning to pass by unanimous consent a resolution calling on Vice President Pence to convene the cabinet and to evoke the 25th Amendment, which is the most immediate action that could be taken to remove Donald Trump as president, since he is a clear and present danger to our national security and to our democracy. And that was blocked by several House Republicans. And so we are going to bring that measure up for a vote tomorrow. And if Mike Pence, as vice president, has not taken the measure to evoke the 25th Amendment by Wednesday, then we will be prepared to bring up the article of impeachment against Donald Trump and to impeach him.
Obviously, this is a very short timeline in terms of when President Trump's term in office is, and he has about 9 to 10 days left in office before President-elect Biden gets inaugurated. Is there any concerns about, the timing of it from that particular aspect, being that President Trump's term in office is so short?
Well, to be clear, Donald Trump led an insurrection against the federal government, resulting in the death of 6 people, including 2 United States Capitol Police officers. And because of that, there must be accountability. He cannot just get away with leading, causing sedition against our federal government. We need to make sure that he never is able to serve again. We need to make sure that no other elected official does this again, and we need to prevent this type of action that resulted in the first time since the War of 1812, an attack on the United States Capitol, not just a breach of our buildings, but the breach of our democracy. So there must be accountability, not just of Donald Trump, but of the 121 House Republicans. And I've also signed on to legislation to conduct ethics reviews of those 121 members and to determine whether they played a part in causing this incitement as well. And if they did, that they must also be held accountable, and anyone else that's involved in this insurrection against our federal government.
What would be your response to some of your GOP colleagues in the House sending a letter to President-elect Biden asking him to intervene and stop the impeachment proceedings, kind of in the name of unity? What would be your response to kind of those calls of unity by not doing the impeachment?
So my colleagues in the House, the Republicans, there's 121 of them who led this incitement and who joined with Donald Trump to spread lies and misinformation, calling into question the results of the 2020 presidential election. Now, to be clear, the 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump have the right to a fair and free election. They had the right to challenge that election. They had the right to file lawsuits against that election. They did so. More than 50 lawsuits, federal lawsuits, including 7 in Nevada, were determined to not have any evidence of fraud, and therefore the electoral college results were certified and were in the course of being reported out as constitutionally required by the House of Representatives on January the 6th. And instead of allowing that process to proceed, those members, 121 of them, continued to spread lies and misinformation and encouraged, along with Donald Trump, the incitement of these domestic terrorists. So the calls for unity could have ended that night. After we were attacked, after the US Capitol was attacked, after it was known at that time that one woman had died in the hallways of the Capitol, they still came to the floor and objected and challenged the results of the will of the people, including in Nevada. There were 52 House Republicans who objected to our results in Nevada. And so there is no unity when you can't agree on the reality, which is they lost the election. More than 8 million people voted. They had an opportunity to challenge the results, including in federal court and the Supreme Court. They lost, or they withdrew their own lawsuits themselves. And because of that, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the next president and vice president of the United States. They will be inaugurated on January 20th. We will move forward and we will crush this virus, get our economy back on track, and restore public confidence in our public institutions. But we can only do that by ensuring accountability for those who contributed to this insurrection that starts with Donald Trump, but it continues with the 121 House Republicans, the 3 US senators, and anyone else who played a role in this insurrection.
Obviously, with the talk of impeachment, just a year ago, we were talking about impeachment, going through the motions in regards to the Ukraine affair. Do you think this time with impeachment, especially from the GOP caucus in the House, that there may be more appetite? We already heard Representative Kinzinger already kind of sort of move towards that direction in terms of his comments. He is the GOP representative from Illinois. Is that something you're seeing now this time?
Well, I hope that my colleagues on the other side will join with us and send a very clear message that inciting insurrection against our federal government, against the will of the people, not accepting the results, not accepting a transfer of power, as are the norms in our democracy. I hope that my colleagues will now see that this incitement has caused a lot of damage to our democracy, and the best way to restore that is to hold Donald Trump and others accountable in supporting this article of impeachment, which will be brought up on Wednesday if Vice President Pence does not do his job, which he can do over the next 24 hours, which is to evoke the 25th Amendment and to declare that Donald Trump is not suitable or fit to be president of the United States any longer.
And lastly, Representative Horsford, is there anything else you'd like to add on top of everything else you said regarding, where we go from here as far as these next few days before President-elect Biden is formally inaugurated?
Well, I'm here in Washington, D.C. We will be having a security briefing later today to ensure that the Capitol complex is secure, it is protected, that we are able to do our business over the next few days. I know that there now are these calls for insurrection rallies across the country in capitals in every state, and here in Washington, D.C. We are concerned about the inauguration. Obviously, that is an important part of our process in the transfer of power peacefully between the parties, and so that needs to occur. We are working to make sure that we hold every single person accountable, and that the necessary security protocols are in place, not just for those of us as members of Congress, but our entire Capitol staff, the Capitol Police. We have seen heroic efforts. I want to send my condolences to the Capitol, the family of Officer Sicknick, as well as the other officer who unfortunately took his life. I want to commend the heroic efforts of so many officers who did their job despite the fact that they were under-resourced. They did not have the proper backup or the coordination with other federal agencies, and we will conduct full investigations and again ensure that that never happens again.
Thank you.